to tell you that this podcast is gold. If you are struggling in any season of relationships, single, dating, engaged, married, this is for you. I couldn't stop asking Ben questions, and because I couldn't stop asking Ben questions, we went a little longer than we normally do. So we're gonna break this into 2 parts, and so let's just call it a Valentine's Day 2-part special with Ben Stuart. Y'all, this book is insane. I mean, he wrote this book years ago. This is not even like promoting the book. This is just like, it's so good. I want all of you to read it. But if you haven't read it yet, or even if you have, there is so much here that I know you're gonna learn from and be encouraged by. So give it a listen. What's up, fam? Ben, I'm so excited that you are on the podcast. This has really been a long time coming because I've had a million questions to ask you, even though I feel like you've already answered all my questions because of this book. So I'm honestly so thankful for this book. I've told you that so many times. You know, we gave this book away to like 2,000 people because we just love the words in that book. But just backstory for people who don't know, I know you've heard this a few times, but for people who don't know, you know, you used to lead Breakaway Ministries in Texas. Let's go. Our next door neighbor. Yep. Let's go. And I used to listen to your podcast. I had the Breakaway app, and Christian also did before we met. So anyways, we meet, Christian and I start DMing all this stuff, and Christian sends me this DM and he says, Sadie, you know, I think I'm going to need your number because for some reason the link I want to send you to this sermon I want you to watch won't go through Instagram DMs, which was so sly. So I'm like, weird, and I'm kind of happy about it. So I send him my number through the DMs, and the very first thing Christian sent me, if you scroll all the way up to the very top of our text, is your message: single, dating, engaged, married. So this message, before even really we read the book, we listened to your sermons on it. Man. And then, you know, the book also impacted our life so much. So I know that's not the only thing you've done. You're also a pastor at Passion City, DC. Let's go. Yeah. So many fun things. And you and Donna are just great people. So super excited to have you on the podcast.
Well, thank you, Sadie. It's awesome to be here with you. It's been so fun to watch you and Christian do all that you're doing for the sake of young people in the name of Jesus. So inspiring. And, you know, when I wrote the book and the talks, it was really just trying to do my best to help a young generation navigate relationships well. And so to know that we got to play a part in y'all's success story, I'm like, oh, that's great. That was the hope, you know? It's like, man, if I can help bring some clarity into a confusing world, that's a win for me. So I love it.
And it was so cool too, because I really knew that Christian was using that book as a guide. Like, funny enough, because I was reading it too and he was reading it, I was noticing like, you're doing exactly what we're reading, but I didn't mind it. I was like, if you're going to do anything like you're reading something or watching something, I would hope it would be this book. And so, you know, we need that. We need a guide. I think especially nowadays, we have a lot of different guides. We have like The Bachelor and all these different shows that are giving us this idea of relationship that's not rooted in a biblical principle. And you gave us that. And you're super real, like you're super relatable. And I think that's probably because you spend a lot of time with college students. You know college students, you kind of go back to when you were that age. It's not like you're just saying all this stuff. It's so relatable to where we're at. And you and Donna set a great example. She's awesome, by the way, at Passion, after Passion at like 2 a.m. Me and her were like drinking a milkshake, having the best conversation.
I love it. Well, and me and your man were doing an interview with Shelly. That was really fun too. It was good to hang with him.
Yes, y'all were. I know. So excited. Well, let's get to the question that I ask everybody before we get to the book. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Man.
I know. Big. Just dropped it.
I would say existence over occupation. And here's what I mean by that. Right when I graduated college, I had this crisis of like, what am I supposed to do? And I got this job that I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And and I had a mentor tell me, he's like, Ben, you need to figure out why you exist before you figure out what you're going to do. And then he dropped on me. He's like, Ben, I exist to walk with God. And he was grabbing that from Colossians, all things exist by him and for him. He said, so Ben, I exist for God and my work is an overflow of that relationship. And then he was like, so catch this, man. He was like, Ben, I work at this particular ministry or job. And if they like what I do, they'll keep me. If they don't, I'll work somewhere else. But I never lose my reason for existing. It's not tied to my occupation. And that was really freeing for me to go, I'm a man of God. And the more I know him, the better I know me and the better I do the things I should be doing. So existence over occupation. Great. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's helped you with like even moving to DC from Texas and all the different things you've done, just knowing that like it's not just about where you're at or what you're doing, but about like who you are?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's been fun to watch over time. Community helps you figure that out. It's kind of a process of elimination. Like I did a lot of things I was bad at, but then I look and I go, hey, when I do this, it helps people. So I should do more of this.
That's good. I love that.
And DC's all young people. It really is. It's all 20s and 30s. And so when Don and I showed up here, we were like, we were built for this.
That's cool.
It's exciting. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so excited that y'all have Passion City in DC and that you're leading. I think that's awesome. Well, let's jump into the relationship portion, the single, dating, engaged, married, because I know everybody's super excited to talk about that. Okay, I want to start right off the bat because in your book, you talk about some signs of toxic relationships. And I've had my fair share of toxic relationships. And so what are some of those signs to look for people out there that it's like, I might already be in one. I'm not really sure. I might be entering in one. What are those signs that we can see this might be leading to a toxic relationship?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, there's so many. I would say maybe the big guiding one for a lot of people is you need to look internally saying, am I looking for a savior or a spouse? Am I looking for a companion or am I looking for like a Christ figure that's going to fill every vacancy, heal every wound, fix every problem? If you're looking for someone to fix what's wrong inside of you, no human being can handle the freight of that. No relationship can handle that. So if you hear somebody say something like, well, if I just had a boyfriend, it'd be fine. Or I just need a man. If I just need this girl to do this, you're like, whoa, be careful that you're trying to put a God-sized need into a human being. And that's where you see a lot of them go wrong. And the Bible speaks to that. The woman at the well Jesus encountered, she had dated or married multiple guys and was living with a guy that wouldn't marry her. And Jesus starts using that kind of metaphor of thirst. He's like, you're going to this well and thirsty again. You need to come to me first. That you get a relationship with God right, you can get a relationship with a guy or a girl right. But if you don't have a divine source of love, like God loves me, then you're going to look for that validation and approval from other people. And when you look for it from other people, you become a drain, not a fountain. You become a sucker of life, not a giver of life. And that leads to paranoia. So who were you talking to? What were you doing? Or that leads to anger. You're not giving me enough attention. And it leads to all that insecurity is a siphoning of energy from somebody else. So if someone's looking for you to meet a God-sized need in their soul, they need to get that relationship with God right, or they'll never get a relationship with you right.
Wow, that is so good. And I can just say from personal experience, that was like totally a relationship I was in. I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought like, oh, this is how it is. People said relationships are going to be hard. People said, relationships are going to be tough. There's going to be hard conversations. But I feel like there's a difference in it being hard and it just being wrong. And at the time, I didn't really realize that. And so for so long, it was all that paranoia and the questions and all this stuff. And then eventually we broke up, and years later we were able to have a conversation, which always doesn't get to happen, but I'm glad that it did. And one of the things he said to me was, I didn't realize this at the time, but you were God to me. And when you left, it felt like God left. And that's when I realized it. And that's why I never felt like I was enough or doing enough or giving enough because I couldn't be God to him. And so what you're saying is so real. And I just want to say from a personal experience, like that is very true. And so if you are in that position that you've been saying, I need this, or if I only had this, that's a very real thing to consider, that, you're looking for really a savior. So that's so good. I'm glad that you talked about that. Y'all, any cereal lovers out there? Not kidding. I love cereal. The magic did not leave whenever I was little. It is still alive today. But I know a lot of you guys, you used to love cereal, but you don't eat it anymore because there's so much sugar. But guess what? I got some magic for you, literally. It's called Magic Spoon. This cereal is healthy and delicious. Literally, it has protein in it. It doesn't have sugar, so you get the magic of cereal, but you get the health benefits of the Magic Spoon. Y'all, this is pretty brilliant stuff. Me and Christian love it. They have a variety pack of flavors. They have cocoa, peanut butter, fruity flavors. Everything is just delicious. We have thoroughly enjoyed our Magic Spoon. Also, they have like a little game on the back of the box that we definitely play and think that we're 11 again, and it's the greatest. But hey, let me tell you some facts on this. Pretty legit. 0 sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in every serving, plus only 140 calories per serving. It's keto friendly, gluten free, grain free, soy free, low carb, GMO free. It's everything free, but it still tastes delicious. The variety pack has 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. It's delicious. Go to magicspoon.com/whoa to grab a variety pack and use my promo code WHOA at checkout to save $5 off your order. That's WHOA, WHOA. Go get you some cereal, and remember, get your next bowl at magicspoon.com/whoa, whoa, to save $5 off your next order of some delicious cereal. That you talked about that. When I was reading this book, I mean, you can see that I have like, it might get like bent and torn, but literally, like, besides so much of it, I'm like, wow, that was me. Like, all this stuff, like, it's so good.
Man, well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons I wrote it was birthed out of pain. I mean, you could ask any of my college buddies. My dating relationships were an endless source of comedy for them. It wasn't funny to me. I was like, why are all these so terrible? And I figured until I get me right, I can't get a we right. I was like, so let me work on Ben for a bit. And
that is good.
When I was a healthier human, then I could interact with Donna in a healthy way. I wasn't perfect, but some substantial healing came in my relationship with God, for sure.
That's great. Until I get me right, can't get a we right. Somebody need that. So you talk about, obviously, all the stages of relationships, which I love because, a lot of people, really need the message of singleness or really need the message in dating, but you really cover it all, which I'm so glad. And you don't cheat any section. Like, every section is filled. But you talk about the purpose of singleness, and a quote that you said is, sometimes the most loving gift God can give us is singleness, which when I read that, I'm like, man, that's so contrary to what people think, that singleness is a gift. And so how do you begin to see singleness as a gift?
Yeah, that's a great question. Paul called it that to the Corinthians about his own life. And in that same context, he starts talking about how the time is short. So I think for me, realizing singleness, the opportunities of singleness are perishable goods. That helped me when I was in my 20s. I just realized singleness is going to end. And so the benefits that come from being single will end. And namely, their freedom and time. Like, when you get in a relationship, you're going to lose a lot of that freedom.
Right.
When I got married, I was happy to be married, but I watched single friends. When the tsunami happened in Thailand, a single buddy jumped on a plane that night, flew over there to serve people. And I was like, I don't have any money. I just got married. I can't just up and travel. And I realized, I love being married, but I lost freedom. Yeah. And when you're single, you just go, man, you have freedom, and it will go away. And kids will change it too. It'll go away. So you want to leverage the opportunities in your stage. And I think what happens with a lot of us is we see the benefits of a different stage and the limitations of our own, and we're always unhappy. But if you can discipline yourself to go, my stage has particular benefits that are perishable, then you want to maximize them. I don't want to waste a second of this. And I think when we think singleness goes on forever, we'll waste time on our phones and go, no, wait, I can travel the world now. I can go make a difference in my city now. And there's a lot of gifts God's given us in singleness, and I just don't want people to miss it. And, one of the
That's
ones I hit
great.
there really big is just Paul says it's for devotion to the Lord. Like, if I got to get
Mm-hmm.
that relationship right first, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
this freedom is so I can get that relationship with God right first. And I
Yep.
want to get really good at walking alongside him. And
Yep.
when I figured that out, singleness was a lot happier for me.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. Christian talks a lot about his singleness, and it's so powerful to hear him say because, like, a lot of the biggest moments of his testimony, like the encounters with Jesus, the times where he was like, okay, I'm going to stop watching pornography. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get serious about the way that I, you know, think about the Lord and read his word and just immerse myself in who he is. Like, all of that happened in his singleness. And like
Hmm.
prepared him 2 years before we ever met. And so I've always just thought that was such a beautiful picture and such a good example of how to use
Yeah.
singleness. And he'll tell you, I did not do everything perfect. And of course he didn't, but he did take that singleness seriously. And that's when his relationship with the Lord got serious. And so I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a good point.
Hmm.
I love this quote. You said, finding someone is easy, but finding the right someone the right way is not. And that's true. People are struggling out there. Like, how do I find this guy? And so, or this girl. So what are things that we can look for? And what are things that we should kind of be on the lookout for, if you will, when it comes to
Yeah.
finding the right person the right way?
Yeah, that's a great question and a huge one. One of the things I present first is that whole get a relationship with God right. I picture it like running, like you want to pursue who God is with all
Mm-hmm.
of your might. And as you do that, you're chasing after him. There's going to be people that are running past you, chasing other things. I'm chasing fame. I'm chasing money. I'm chasing success in this business venture. And you go, hey, that person was cute and funny, but they're running a different direction. If I'm running
Yep.
after how God built me, you're going to look and see some other people running alongside you. So that's the first sifting criteria for me
Mm-hmm.
is you want the same cause. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
bind yourself to someone who's chasing something else, all that tension's on your marriage bond. And
Yeah.
I mean, when I got into church ministry, Sadie, I talked to so many, a lot of women who were divorced that they married a guy because he was cute and funny. And when they got
Mm-hmm.
married, his values were totally different. So his
Wow.
decisions were totally different. And it put all the
Right.
strain on their marriage bond. So you needed to go, are they chasing after the things of God? If they're not, let them run right on by.
Yeah.
And then you look for a godly character. And are they being shaped by God's character? Because
Mm-hmm.
you want a Christian that when they showed up for you, you go, hey, he was pursuing honorable sexuality before he met me. He wasn't just doing it for
Yeah.
me. He wasn't just doing
Yeah.
it because I was cute and he was trying to get married to me. Because what happens if something goes wrong and I don't get cute? I have a medical issue that suddenly messes me up. Will he still be there for me? You want to know
Right.
someone that's got their sexuality under control outside of
That's
their commitment to
good.
you. So you want to look for that character. And then the
That's
last
good.
piece is chemistry. Do I like hanging out with them? And that's not
Yeah.
nothing because most of marriage is hanging out. And obviously,
True.
there's a million things we need to say underneath all this, but those are like the big pictures. Are we chasing the same cause? Do they
It's
have a
good.
God shaped character? And then chemistry. Do I like hanging out with them? Do I look forward to talking to them? Or are they a drain? And I talk to so many people
It's
that
good.
stay in relationships because they think they're supposed to, and they sort of don't look forward to talking to the person on the phone. You're like, you don't have to do this to each other. Like, you can go.
Yep. That is
So,
so good. I love that point because I think people like put chemistry aside because they don't think that's as important. And they're like, well, at least he's a good person, or at least they're nice, or at least they love the Lord. And it's like, yes, but also, do
yeah.
y'all even like each other? Like, do you have fun? Do you have good conversation? Because you're right, when you get married, especially if the world happens to go into a pandemic and you're quarantined together, then
Yeah.
you're gonna really hope that you have chemistry.
Yeah.
Um,
I dated a girl. My only dating relationship I feel like I kind of got right in college. She was chasing the Lord, had amazing character, but we would just run out of things to talk about. And
yeah.
we ended up having a great conversation. We were just like, we don't think we're a fit. And we both cried over it. We're like, that's kind of sad because you were cool. Your parents would have made good in-laws, but we just don't love hanging out. And Donna made me laugh. And that's not nothing.
Yeah. That is
You know?
not nothing. That's so honest. That's so good. I'm so glad you said that. Guys, I want to tell y'all about Skillshare. I've mentioned this before, but I want to remind you about it because this is so legit. It is an online community, a place where you can go and learn, take classes for things that we're actually really interested in. There are things that are probably tailor-made to something you want to do right now. I actually took a class in DIY product photography, which is really useful for me because I'm sitting here all day, I'm in my office, I have all this product in there, and it would be good for me to know how to take a picture, right? The class was taught by Daniel and Rachel, which is really cool too, because you actually get to know who your teachers are. They teach you these incredible skills, and you learn in a really cool way. One of the things that I learned is that you don't have to have some kind of fancy camera to take product pictures. You can actually use your iPhone, which again is really helpful for me. And so they teach you how to do that. There's some other classes I know y'all be interested in. One of the things was a video for Instagram, how to do a minute-long video for Instagram that's engaging, that people would actually want to listen to. So if you're trying to grow your following, that would be a great one. Another one was like find your style, and it was just ways that you can express yourself and show yourself and really find who you really are through your style. So many just practical things, a lot of photography classes on there that you can take. It's super simple. So go on Skillshare.com and bring some color and beauty and fun into your year as you learn a new skill. So go explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/whoa, that's WHOA, and get a free trial of the premium membership. You can get a free trial of their premium membership if you go to Skillshare.com/whoa right now. So go check it out and get yourself a new skill. I love how you talked about the importance of someone with integrity. And you talked about the purity and sexuality with that. And you got very real. And last night as I was rereading it, I was like, man, this is like, when I first read this when we were dating, or even whenever we were not even kind of there even yet, we were more so just figuring out if we were going to be in a relationship. And reading this book, this part didn't mean anything to me, but now it really does. And you talked about how, like, whenever you have a baby and then there's a time, and let's just get real, you said you're not gonna be able to have sex. They're like, and it's in that moment that you really hope you have a man with integrity. And I was like, dang, like, when I read that, I probably just skipped through it because I'm like, awkward, haha. But then, like, that's real. Like, that's life. And so what is the importance of making sure that who you're with is a person of integrity?
Yeah. Well, you're experiencing it right now, Sadie, with just the lack of anxiety for you of you're not going to worry about where is Christian spending his nights. If he's in the other room on a computer, what's happening? Or if he goes on a trip without me. His character gives you a sense of safety, that I'm going to be fine because that man is strong for me. And we need that. The book of Proverbs is so good for evaluation. The Bible doesn't talk about dating because that wasn't the method to find a spouse, but it talks about evaluating people all the time. And if you read the book of Proverbs, it says when the righteous is a king, the people rejoice. Why are people happy? Because they know that person's going to do right by us. They're going to do the right thing. And so when you're married to someone that you go, they're not going to be perfect, but they're always looking to do the right thing. Then you don't have to worry about, are they going to stab me in the back? Are they going to empty the bank account? Are they going to, you go, no, they're trying to be right before God. And that benefits me. They want to be righteous in the way they handle money. So they're not going to put me in a dangerous place financially. They want to be right in the way they talk to people. So I don't have to worry about them being violent towards me. Like their allegiance to God, if they take that seriously, leads to a whole host of virtues when they deal with you. They will be kind. They will be gentle. They will be strong. And you want all those virtues in your life. You're blessed. I mean, that's Proverbs 31. When a guy finds a girl like that, it's like he will rise up every morning and call her blessed. Like her commitment to God makes her good to me, even when I'm at my worst. And you want a person like that in your home.
That's so true. That's so good. And I think, do you know like anything about the Enneagram? Are you an Enneagram person?
Oh my gosh. Donna is so into the Enneagram and I have not taken it and it makes her crazy. But go ahead because everyone loves it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, I have to just say because as a 6 on the Enneagram, it's like the loyalist and the biggest thing that they struggle with is like trust and they value security. And I always thought like, in relationships that I've been in, like trust was just going to be a hard thing for me because trust is hard for anyone, right? And it's especially hard, with this personality type and all this stuff. And it was really hard in other relationships to trust. But I will say it is not hard to trust Christian. It's not like something I have to muster up and try to like really hard just trust him. Like, don't get jealous. Don't ask him what he's doing on his phone. Don't like, no, I just don't have to do that because I know who Christian is and he has so much integrity. And I know, like you said, he's not perfect, but he's always looking to do the right thing. And his relationship with God is more important than his relationship with me. And so ultimately he's, obeying God, not just, trying to not do something wrong for me. And so I will just say to people who are out there who are like, it's so hard to trust. Like if you're dating somebody, like ask yourself, why is it hard to trust? Like, is it hard because maybe it's your own insecurity? Maybe it's hurt from the past. Maybe it's jealousy, stuff like that. Or maybe it's because they haven't shown you the integrity that you really need in a person. So I just love that point. I thought that was awesome.
And it's
and
not
then,
it's not based on your activity. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's not
no,
based on
please do.
whether you're performing. So you don't have that anxiety
Yep.
of, if he doesn't think I'm doing this right or that, he might go do X or Y. You go, no, he's going to handle me right even when I'm not at my best. That's a good
Yes.
feeling.
That is the best feeling. So good. I love that. So I already kind of went to the awkward zone, but I'll stay there for a second because you can't talk about relationships and not talk about sex. And the thing is too, it's like we would be naive as a church to not because of how much culture is talking about it. And I love your comparison to sex like a fire. I thought that was such a good analogy. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit and explain that to people? Because there's a lot of people listening to my podcast who grew up in church and a lot of people who don't, so they might not understand, why is this a problem? That kind of thing. And so I'd love for you to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I compare sex to a fire in the sense that, I heard a guy ask once, do you start fires in your living room? And that question's so crazy. Like, of course I don't. And he was like, so you don't own a fireplace? You're like, oh, okay. We naturally think fire is good. Fire's good in a home. It'll bring warmth and life if it's boxed in by strong boundaries, brick and steel, then it'll bring warmth and life. But you get a fire outside of protective boundaries, it will burn down everything you love. And sex is the same way. And as a society in America, we still have some holdovers of Christian sexual boundaries, namely, it should not cross from adult to child. The broader culture has said that, yes, sex should have boundaries. You go, okay, but we loosened a lot of those boundaries. It used to be socially just acceptable to have sex within marriage. Now it's socially acceptable to take it outside. But if you watch the broader culture, have we benefited from that? I would say no. And every statistic you look at for people, our loose sexuality has hurt us. It's taken something good and taken it outside protective boundaries. And outside of that protection, we've hurt ourselves. And so what sounded like freedom, sexuality without constraint, has actually become deeply painful for us. And you see it in men, because primarily they're the consumers of pornography. Women do too. Statistically, 1 in 3 women. It's much higher for men, 9 out of 10. And it looks like freedom, but then it becomes addiction. And not only addiction, all the stats we see now is then it makes not just getting married more difficult, although it's done that, it's made interaction with women more difficult, even at an interpersonal level. So you go, what looked like freedom, this discovery of sexuality on a screen, has stolen from me the value of a relationship and the value of getting to know people. And for women, it's interesting. Donna Freitas did this big study of college campuses of the hookup culture of casual sex. And she said the highest praise it got was the word fine. No one said it was awesome. No one said it was great. She said the best they gave it was fine. 40+% said they felt abused and they felt hurt. And these were not Christian people, but they were saying like this belief, I should divorce sexuality from my emotions and take them to the culture and just sort of enjoy it as a physical expression. It's not true. Our sexuality is tied to us. Now we know chemically, dopamine, it makes us happy. Oxytocin, it promotes bonding. It's meant to create the joyful bonding with the emotions of another person. So when you try to divide the physical act from the emotional bonding of a relationship, you're doing violence to your soul. And the statistics are in, we've hurt us. We've hurt men, we've hurt women, we've hurt children. So out of love for people, I tell them, let's put this good fire back in healthy boundary. It's good. It's good for great. You. Yeah.
That's so good. I love that what you said, what looked like freedom has actually hurt us. That's so real and that's so good. And also that you do say all this stuff out of love, and it sounds like love because it's like, I don't want you to get hurt. And I think that that's heard from people who have read your book and who listen to you. That's why I'm so thankful that you're willing to talk about it, because not everybody I would get on a podcast and ask that to. But I've seen how you touch on that, and it's so loving and it's so biblical, and it's also so like, this is not just for Christians. This is just like the world, the statistics. It is what it is. Yeah. And so thank you for touching on that. Hello.
Hi,
is this AJ?
Yes.
Hey, this is Sadie and Christian.
This is Christian. Hello.
Hi.
So, we hear you have a question for us.
Yes, my question was, how do you stay positive through, all the negative stuff in the world?
Great question. First of all, you have such a great voice. You're so cute. How do we stay positive in such a negative world? Honestly, what I've realized in my life is the times that I'm most positive is when I've actually just like weeded out the negative things that I'm putting into my mind. So, for instance, used to I would watch TV shows that I literally couldn't even sit through now, and I would listen to music that was just negative for so many different reasons, and just kind of didn't care as much about what went into my mind and my soul and my spirit. And now I take that really seriously. So now I, fill my mind with the Word of God and fill my, time listening to things with podcasts or friends who are uplifting. And it's not being, an optimist. It's just filling your mind with truth. The Bible even says to think about the things that are true, honorable, noble, praiseworthy. That's the things you need to think on. And so when I shifted to that, I think that's whenever it became a lot easier to be positive. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I definitely agree with everything you said. For me, I can look at my life, and when there are times in my life where I have let more of those worldly things kind of into my mind, I can be whether it's more negative or whether it's more anxious, worrying, that kind of can take from me being positive. But the thing for me is, if I don't read my Bible daily, and if I don't fill my mind with that and try to fill my spirit with that, then I know that I'll be less positive.
A toot.
I'll be a toot, yeah. Well, from the standpoint of like, I'll be less I'll be less patient with you. I'll be more on edge, and I'll be less positive, and those things can take from that. So for me, the biggest thing to help me be more positive is not look at the news, read my Bible. And that sounds super simple, but that's been the biggest help for me. Is just read the Bible, listen to worship, and then hopefully out of that will come an overflow of positive.
That's great. Positivity. Well, AJ, thanks so much for calling and asking that question. That's so good. And you sound like a really positive person, but I hope that those little things helped.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Yes, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Sweet.
That was good.
Good job. I love how you are like this 24/7, like, and then we actually start rolling, and you're talking back here.
I was thinking back here, then I was slowly moving towards when I had my thoughts.
We want to keep doing this. So if you just send in your questions to the Whoa That's Good podcast Instagram page, we're going to go look through them, and we would love to give you advice. So we'll pick whoever that is, DM you, and next thing you know, we would love to hop on a call and feature you on the podcast. So I'm so excited to get this thing going, and that was such a great start to this whole question thing. And I can't wait to see all the questions people ask us. We're going to do a mix too. It's not just going to be serious. Some are going to be fun. It can be about our life. It can be about the baby. It can be about God, or whatever you want to know. We would love to hopefully give you some good advice.